The Kamikaze were military pilots who flew suicide attacks for the Empire of Japan. The Kamikaze fought against Allied naval vessels in the Pacific Campaign of World War II and intended to destroy warships more effectively than with conventional air attacks. Motoharu Okamura, a commander of a Kamikaze squadron, said that by 1944, "I firmly believe that the only way to swing the war in our favor is to resort to crash dive attacks with our planes. There is no other way. Provide me with 300 planes and I will turn the tide of war." The name Kamikaze means heavenly or divine wind. The name originates from Japanese history, from the 16th century tale of a Mongol emperor whose fleet was sunk by the gods who sent a heavenly wind. Kamikaze pilots would attempt to crash their aircraft into enemy ships in an aircraft loaded with bombs, torpedoes, and other explosives. This was called a body attack, and only about 19% of these attacks were successful. The Japanese considered the goal of damaging or sinking large numbers of Allied ships to be a just reason for suicide attacks. Kamikaze was more accurate than conventional attacks and often caused more damage. Some kamikazes were still able to hit their targets even after their aircraft had been crippled. On October 25, 1944, the Empire of Japan employed kamikaze bombers for the first time. The tactic was part of the ferocious Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history, which took place in the Pacific Ocean near the Philippines. Early on the 21st of October 1944, a Japanese aircraft deliberately crashed into the foremast of the heavy cruiser HMAS Australia. Kamikaze attacks later involved specially equipped planes and intensive pilot training focused on self-sacrifice and devotion to the emperor. Kamikaze planes were sometimes loaded with bombs and extra gasoline tanks before being flown into their targets. The pilots were also young men who volunteered for the Japanese Air Force. The pilots performed a special ceremony of drinking wine and eating rice before flying. They were also given medals and a katana sword during these ceremonies. In these kamikaze attacks, more than 3,000 Japanese pilots were killed, and there were more than 7,000 casualties among American, Australian, and British personnel. Beyond physical destruction, kamikaze attacks instilled fear and uncertainty, impacting Allied morale and operations. Despite the damage, kamikaze attacks failed to turn the tide of the war, with the Japanese forced to accept an unconditional surrender less than a year later.